Well, hello. It's Miss Gina. And you're at story time with Miss Gina. And this is WISHWORKS, Inc. And you're at Gina's Planet with Miss Gina. Hello, I'm Miss Gina. I'm glad you're here. So I read Holes earlier. I'm going to get these uploaded in a bit. So this is chapter 6. And 6 starts much like chapter 5 did with Ali Baba. Max opened his eyes. He was in bed with Ali Baba on his legs. A tiny sliver of gray light was visible along the edge of his window shade. Was that the doorbell he had heard? Who could be ringing their doorbell so early? It wasn't even time to get up and get ready for school. Wasn't even time to get up and get ready. He heard his mother hurrying down the hall and unlocking the front door. Then he heard voices. He moved, Ali Baba, and got up. He went out to the living room in his pajamas. Ali Baba followed him. Remember, Ali Baba was his cat. Beyond his mother, he could see a baseball cap with long gray hair sticking out. It was Mrs. Kavitsky, the woman who lived upstairs, whose front door was right next to theirs and shared the same stoop. She and his mother were both talking at once. "We can't," his mother was saying. "We have a cat, an old cat. I was out doing my morning run, and this poor thing came tearing across 17th Street. She was nearly hit by a car. You can tell nobody has been taking care of her. Who knows how long she's been on her own." Max saw now what they were talking about. It was shivering in Mrs. Kavitsky's arms. It was a dirty yellow color and only a little bigger than a loaf of bread. Old tufts of hair sprouted around its ears. Its legs were short and skinny. They clawed at Miss Kavitsky's sweatshirt. There was no doubt about it. The thing was a dog. A real live dog. Max caught sight of the creature's rear end. Instead of a lovely plume, there was a long, thin, almost naked tail that reminded him of a rat. No, this wasn't anything at all like King. There was some mistake. This was most certainly not the dog he had wished for. Mrs. Kavitsky, holding the quivering rat-tailed dog, stepped inside. His mother was still shaking her head. "We can't. We just can't," she said. Max breathed a sigh of relief. Of course she wouldn't take it. He was pretty sure of his mother. Sure, if his mother could just see King, just meet him once, Max could persuade her to let him keep him. But nobody could want this horrible little rat-tailed dog. Mrs. Kavitsky's eyes filled with tears. "I guess I'll have to take her to the pound then. I was going to keep her myself, but when I took her upstairs, my Shotzi went after her and chased her 3 times around the apartment. Females often don't get along. You know, Shotsky scared her half to death. Just look how the poor little thing is shaking." "You're going to take her to the pound?" Mother said in a very small voice. Mrs. Kavitsky nodded, tears beginning to trickle down her pink cheeks. "Let's face it, this dog is no beauty. She isn't likely to get adopted. You know what will happen to her at the pound." Mother looked hard at the shivering dog in Mrs. Kavitsky's arms. Mother's forehead was all wrinkled, and Max thought she looked as if she might be about to cry too. Just then Polly came down the hall from her room in her pink and white polka dot nightgown. "Why is everybody up so early?" Before anyone could answer, she saw the dog in Miss Kavitsky's arms. "Oh," she squealed, "what a cute little doggie." Polly must be blind, Max thought. Can we keep him? Polly asked. No, Max thought. Her. Mrs. Kvitsky said, "It's a sweet little girl dog. Oh, can we keep her? Can we? Can we?" Polly said and started tugging at her mother's robe. Max wished he could think of some way to shut Polly up, but it was too late. His mother's forehead wasn't wrinkled anymore. He could absolutely see her changing her mind. "Oh, all right," Mother said then. "I guess we could take her. Max has always wanted a dog." Mrs. Kvitsky beamed. "Wonderful! Just wonderful! Every boy should have a dog." As she bent to put the dog on the floor, it stiffened. It barked or yipped or maybe yapped. Whatever it was, the sound was bigger than the dog itself, Max thought. Its eyes were fixed on something behind Max. Max turned around to see. Ali Baba was pressed against the living room wall. Here's the little dog. And Miss Kvitsky and his sister. And there's Max. And there's his mom. She's under my fingers. Hey, Mom. So Ali Baba's pressed against the wall. His back was arched. His tail was puffed up twice its regular size. Ali Baba hissed. The dog squirmed out of Mrs. Kvitsky's grasp. A streak of dirty yellow flew past Max's legs. Ali Baba hissed again and flashed out a paw full of claws. There was a yip that turned into a yelp. Then Ali Baba ran. He moved faster than Max had ever seen him move. He went under the couch. The dog, with a long red scratch on its muzzle, tried to go after him. It got stuck halfway and stayed there, its long ratty tail wagging wildly. From under the couch came hisses and little high-pitched whines. "Looks like Ali Baba can take care of herself," Mother said. And that's the end of chapter 6. And next time we'll be on chapter 7. And there's the picture for chapter 7. And that's where we'll pick up next time. I hope you enjoyed that. Remember to read more in 2024 and grow your brain. So I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.